This is Paul Newman, and if you are seeing this screen, I am hoping to assure you here that the live stream will start very soon. So please stay tuned. Hello everybody, and welcome back. It's been a busy old few weeks really with the horses, as everybody knows. The 2-year-old season is slowly but surely reaching a crescendo. We've got plenty of horses now, so we're not really too fussed about adding more to a list. The middle distance prospects, why are we doing that really? The middle distance prospects this year, they've got very little to gain by racing now, unless they're racing at Group 1 level really, or pattern race level, you know. So we might, so we decided a while ago that we're just going to do August and September. We've got a couple more to look at as we near the end of September, and then we're probably going to leave it until around the new year, then mop up the 3 or 4 months that we've not done, and then we should have plenty of unexposed, lightly raced 3-year-olds ready to step up into pattern company with a nice pedigree, as opposed to a list of around 30 or 40 2-year-olds. A lot of them have won at pattern level, and a lot of them have been beat at pattern level. You know, we're looking at improvers then. Obviously, if I think the pedigree is good enough to entitle them to improve, then I will include them. But ideally, we'd have a lot of brand new horses heading into the middle distance trials next year. You know, right, what I'm going to do first is we're just going to take a look at the swathe of horses that are really in no man's land at the moment, because their form isn't really good enough at the minute or bad enough at the minute for us to make a case one way or the other. Got a few of these. A lot of them have been running recently. A few of them probably will be running soon. So we're just going to take a quick look at them, and then we'll end this, and then we'll be back later with a load more. The first one I'm going to take a look at is Tower of London. Obviously, I was quite disappointed with the run when it was last in that Group 2. I mean, it's given itself plenty to do there, and you'll see we're going to look at around 50 horses in these 2 streams. You will see how rare it is for a horse not to improve from its first start to its second, and you will see that this one has actually managed to do that. Tower of London, disappointingly, it's entered in the 8th. Doesn't really look like it's going to go in the Zetland over 1 mile 2 furlongs at 2. Great move that is to make that a Group 3. Yeah, that's a race that is needed in the calendar, and maybe a few more as well, around Group 2 and listed level, around the same distance. You know, it's gone right out now for the Derby and the Futurity, and it should after that poor run. The next one we're going to look at is Meme. This is one really, as people will see on the form, which is a slow and steady improver. It actually won last time out quite well. We were hoping that it would either keep going or expose itself. And it's really, they've not raced it now for nearly 8 weeks. It hasn't raced since the middle of August. It's entered in the Rockingham Stakes, a listed race on Saturday. And there's a couple of nursery entries as well coming up. But this is a nice horse. It's related to Memas. You know, so I'm hoping it can make into a pattern race horse. Whether it will develop into over classic trips remains to be seen. The next one, the Platinum Queen, has to go down as a success story really, and will go up the ladder. It actually won the Prix Labbe on last Sunday at Longchamp, so it is now a Group 1 and a Group 1 winner, as well as being placed at Group 2 level. But like I said, they are not really looking to race this horse over the trips I want it to be racing at. You know, I mean, the horse is a relative of Dubawi on the dam side. They need to get this horse up to in trip somehow. You know, but it doesn't seem, you know, after winning the Abbe, could that be the end of it for the season after 7 runs? You You know, it's had a fantastic season, whatever it's done. Group 1 winner, the Platinum Queen. But where it leaves us with Classic Watch is anybody's guess, really, mainly due to the distance. Denmark is another one that frustrated over the weekend. You know, they've got these nice horses that win by 3.5 lengths on their debut, and they managed then to somehow get them beat in sales races at the Arc meeting. I mean, if people see this race, they will see a brutal ride, I think, by jockey Ridemore on this horse. You know, if people look at classic horses, how many of them get beat in sales races? Classic winners, classic runners. How many of them get beat in sales races? You know, not many of them, I don't think. If people look, hopefully this won't be a hammer blow to the horse, the mistake that they made at the weekend. But it's entered again in the Futurity at 12-1, which used to be the Racing Post Trophy. It's still 25-1 for the Derby. Yeah, improved by 7 to win a list 2 from what it done its debut. But these people are billionaires. You know, why are they chasing pots like this? I'd rather it had won a 12 grand listed race and ran to 100 than do what it did there. Really, it's out of the pattern now. It's been beaten in a non-pattern race, and it could have it all to do. Local Dynasty bounced back really from a rather disappointing second run in the Acomb. I did quite fancy it, but we had one ahead of it that day, and it then bounced back with a win at Novice Stakes Company up to a mile. People will see though that this is one that hasn't really raced to any rating near what we would need to win a pattern race at this stage of the season. So it's still got plenty to find. Again, it's not really much on the horizon looking at this. Heavenly Breath has to go down as an interesting horse now because of the performance of the winner here, Blue Rose Sen. You know, you can argue that our horse here, Heavenly Breath, got a lot closer to it than a lot did in the pre-Marcel Boussac at the weekend. Blue Rose Sen was the Boussac winner. We'll be on to that. We had a couple in that race that let us down. This one here, Heavenly Breath, now seems to have really just sitting in its paddock and putting in a decent performance when they actually tried it in a pattern race, has gone up quite nicely now after that run. There's nothing entered for it. Hopefully they might be able to find a nice little pattern race for it at some point in the season, or bring it back in 2023 for classics. Due by Mile, I've noted it's owned by the same person. I noticed that the other day. That's another one where to be fair to them, I like Ahmed El Sheikh style. You know, he wins a maiden, he wins a novice, or wins a maiden or a novice sometimes, as they had here. I've just noticed that time speed of 1 when it won in August at Windsor. And that's another one, you see. That has rolled its dice in the Group 2 race at Newbury, the Royal Lodge. And it's been rewarded with a Group 2 place. A massive improvement there as well of 15 from third to fourth start, 92 to 107. We spotted quite a nice improvement there as well from race to race, over 10 every time. And it's impossible to say, looking at that this horse might not have any more improvement left in him. Worryingly, we did hear that he was placed in the sale, which would indicate he might be heading somewhere else to race, like Hong Kong or Qatar or something, unfortunately for us and the Classic Watch project. But I do think it's a horse that people need to look at. I did notice there it was 33-1 for the Futurity, but if they all turn up here, we'll have more running for us than we won't. Captain Winters is another, what I think is an interesting one, because the Dam Ream 3 has been a good solid producer of horses over the years. I think it ran a cracking race there when third at a big price, wasn't fancied, but I had a feeling it'd run well that day just the pedigree of it. And it's improved nicely, but again it's still below 100 and just listed placed with no entries, so that's another one you see where you have to sort of be up in the air with it. Left C That was another disappointing one the other week, really, in the early September in the Prix du Mal. Hoping that it would have finished a lot better than last in that race. It was fancied, but again, look, it's only managed to improve one from its first to its second start. I mean, I might as well have not bothered running it, and it finished last as well. So that one is one that definitely needs to bounce back. It's entered in the Fillies Mile in 2 days' time. It's broadcast taking place on the 5th, the 10th. But there's not really much there that suggests to me it's going to run. And why would they after what happened to it last time? There's an order. I mean, excuse me, it's not very often that you have to wait for the winner of the York Convivial Maiden. You say in October, but it's not run. I don't know whether it's had a setback. We did see it entered in a nursery at Chester. And luckily either it showed them too much for them not to run it, or it had a setback, unfortunately for the horse, and didn't run. But we're still none the wiser about this horse. It's quite a nicely bred horse. We'll see again, it's entered in a nursery on the 8th, the same nursery that Meme was entered in. Just our luck that they both turned up in that. But that is another one you see that's not proved itself in Pattern Company, hasn't ran above 100. Continuous is a rare success. Well, it's a success story at this stage in the season. I'm not going to say rare, because it's way too early to judge these horses, really. But some are moving along the ladder better than others. Continuous is certainly one that has improved nicely to land the Group 3 pre-Thomas Byron at St. Cloud last week. But again, a nice improvement from 93 to 104. But more importantly than that, it's an unbeaten pattern race winner. And what more would you want heading into the 2023 Classics than that? A couple more entries, you'll see it's another one that's entered in the Futurity that can sort a few out. 16 to 1, and then it's entered in the Irish 2000 Guineas as well. That seems a reasonable entry. Crystallium is one you'll actually look, that if people look, they will see it is entered on Friday, which is nice to see, because this Daughter of Expert Eye is certainly heading in the right direction nicely. It won a conditions race last time out, went from 79 to 93. And it's hard not to say that this horse isn't ready for a step up to Pattern Company. And it might get that in the Group 3 So Sharp Stakes on Friday. Hopefully it will. Then we'll learn a lot more about that one. King of Records is one I've just noticed that unfortunately ran today and was beaten. With everybody's favourite jockey riding it at the moment, Christophe Soumillon. That's a disappointment, really, because I was hoping that the horse might be quite decent. It was beaten by an odds-on shot of Sunbees that landed. Sunbee won the Lagardère on Art Weekend and will be trialling Mishriff. Standing Mishriff, really, but as you'll see there's no match for it, really, beaten 5.5 lengths. So that one it was a disappointing run from King of Records, and hopefully it'll bounce back. It will need to. It's a well-bred horse, an interestingly bred horse, but it needs to show the form, really. Library is another one that's entered in Friday's Oh So Sharp Stakes, I should imagine. No, it's actually entered in the Fillies Mile, where she is an 11 to 1 shot. That was one that took a while to get off the mark. It's been running and steadily improving, and it found another 5 or 6 to add on. It's been improving by 5 or 6 every time if people look at it. It needs to improve more than 5 or 6, I think, to get involved in the Fillies Mile. But it's a nicely bred horse, and we'll see how she gets on. Cairo is another one, I think, that if people watch the Star Express Stakes, I think it's called, the Star Appeal Stakes, sorry, a listed race at Dundalk. I mean, they'll see a brutal ride by Wayne Lorden on Cairo. It's disappointing when the horse is on the bad end of things like that. I mean, you'll see that he was a long way at it from a long way out, and the horse was just beaten. by 2¼ lengths, but it was a disappointing run. I think that the horse couldn't win the race. I think Lorden maybe could have made a lot more of him, dropped back in trip. You know, they dropped it back in trip. It disputed the lead last time. And then it was pushed along to lead after 2 furlongs out by the same jockey. You know, it's just a disappointment that he didn't make the same move in this race. So we're always at the beck and call of these jockeys. You know, that's the trouble with horse racing. You know, it was a listed place, and it was a good improvement by Cairo, more than he's improved before. But it's a defeat that we didn't want to see really at this stage. Nadawi, on the other hand, he managed to keep his progression going, the son of Cracksman, by landing a conditions race to back up his maiden again though. A nice improvement that got him his highest ever figure, but still slightly above 100, below 100, sorry. You know, quite way below 100 really, let's be honest. And he's got more to do. He's another one that has got the dreaded dash, the futurity. But it's a nice horse, and I'm hoping that we get it to a classic trial, and then we'll see what the horse can do. Theosan is another one that has to go down. Again, it's managed to do what we hate to see, really, for a horse so well, for any horse really that we're looking to follow, for a horse so well bred as this as well. Incredibly disappointing that the horse has managed to take a backward step on its second start. I mean, terrible. What more can people say? You know, hopefully the horse bounces back from that, but some don't. Could be a hammer blow to the horse's chances, that second start. Castle Way, again, you know, it fell short. This process really is eliminating a lot of these 2-year-olds to a certain extent. This horse was well beaten by Nadawi in the conditions race at Epsom, and more disappointingly, it was beaten by another 3. And again, you see, after struggling to improve hardly anything from its first to its second start, it's now gone backwards. I mean, what can people say? Sometimes the figures don't lie. And I'll be amazed if it turned up to win the Virtue Futurity. People will look at its half-brother Palace Pier and argue the case if they were being contrary. This horse is actually ahead of Palace Pier at this stage, because Palace Pier never even raced at 2, only at 3, 4. What I'll say to that is, whatever, you know, time will tell. But me, I'm not giving this many more chances, especially if it loses again this year in a non-pattern race. Eximius is another one. To be honest, I was hoping for a bit better than what it showed in the Group 2 at Newmarket. It was a nice competitive price of 12-1. You know, it improved quite a bit from its first to its second start. But the horse was seemingly brutally exposed at a higher level, finishing only 12th and 14 behind our winner of the race, Commissioning. But, you know, we're going to give it one more go, or 2 more maybe. If it loses again at 2 and loses a trial at 3, it'll be finished. But it is a nice horse. These are all nice horses, just because they fall short here. I identified Alpinista at 2, and it's won the Arc this year at 5, you know. It never ran in a Classic. Wouldn't have been included in Classic Watch when it was 3, Alpinista. So bear that in mind, people. Kalina is another one that was massively disappointing from the work time of a Frere. We had a left C blowout as well, and we had Kalina blowout in the Lagardère behind Blue Rose Sen. You see, 19.5 lengths. This one was beaten by. We had one beaten 1.25 lengths in a Heavenly Breath, and again, a lovely, massive, nice step up from 78 to 93 for the second start. And then, despite going off a heavily fancied favourite, it was actually beaten last, despite running the best time speed figure it ever raced to. So either the pace of the race has caught it out and it needs to crawl round. You know, the horse has got a massive setback to its chances. You look at the entries, none, luckily. Youngest, I think, is an interesting filly. You know, because it's quite a well-bred filly. And that's another one I noticed that actually is. I think if we look at the entries in the it's in the Oh-So Sharp Stakes, yes, on Friday, which is looking like an interesting race for us. This one is, we're waiting to see it really. It's raced at 85. It hasn't had that key second start yet. It was one we identified quite late in the process. Only won earlier this month, last month really. So this is one really with not a fair bit of leeway and not a penalty kick either. You know, but hopefully it will run quite well. You know, these people, Sheikh Mohammed Obeid, although they have defied us really for 30 years with their horses, you know, they do have some nice ones. You know, it'll be interesting to see how it gets on. Be Happy is another one that ran at Cork. There doesn't seem to be a lot happening with this one. It's another one with one start and one win, the sort of horse you'd see now that we were identifying towards the end of September, middle of September even, that we looked at the horse and where we're thinking, could we have missed September out as well? You know, this horse doesn't really look to be doing anything at the moment. It's entered in the Staffordstown Stakes in Group 3 on the 8th. And then the Irish 1,000 Guineas. But again, you see, rather like the last one, this one is getting a bit pushed for time now. They've got youngest to run. This one they haven't. Make Me King. You know, there's another one we identified. This one is actually ran quite well. You know, it ran in the Group 3 at St. Cloud. The Thomas Byron behind our horse Continuous. And only finished a length behind it with a massive improvement of 20. 74, 80, 202. This one here, you have to say, is definitely heading in the right direction. People will say what people will see when they watch the video that I did on the horse that I've uploaded somewhere. But I did say that a lot of these run well for us, the Voltaire horses. And if this one can get its head in front a couple of times in pattern races, it'll have done that. Whether it develops into a classic horse or not remains to be seen. And last, but certainly not least, we have Ardent, who is the second horse that we were talking about that blew out in the Marcel Boussat at Art Weekend. It had been beaten by Kalina on its first start and then did well to win on its second start. Unlike Kalina though, this one really did run quite well. And for a horse that we know stays a lot further than this. We watched Raclette go round in the Yorkshire Oaks and win over 1 mile 3 furlongs at 3. You know, this one was supported on the day. It was always in the first 5 or 6 and then they all just were a bit too speedy for it. Plugged on to finish 6th and improved £10. It's improving quite nicely and we're hoping that this one will end up in some sort of a French classic trial at some point next season. I'll be surprised. They don't really show the French entries as much on here. So everybody, that is the first batch of horses. We've got a few more that we will be looking at some point later on today. There's Classic Watch 22. If people want to look at how Classic Watch 2022 did at the first part of the season, they can do that, really. It hasn't been updated for a while. You know, it hasn't been updated, the results. We'll update the results at some point. There was Raclette that we were talking about, you see, just now. Winning at listed in Group 2 over 1 mile 4. So if our horse is good enough to finish 6th in the leading Group 1 race that we did win last year, we will say that. You know, then maybe we're not far off with Ardent. Classic Watch 2022.ml is the website. I will leave it there, everybody. Thank you very much for watching this broadcast. Maybe there's plenty of nice horses on here. If you write them all down, you know, that's all I'll say about these horses. Write them all down. Keep this video in your bookmarks. Keep referring back to it. And I don't think you'll be far off the right track. It could be for the next 4 years. You know, who knows what these horses are going to do when they reach 5 years old. Time will tell, obviously. But for now, thank you very much, everybody. And I'll be back later on. Take care to you all.